Unless you are mentally ill, you should agree without hesitation that the Hidan and Kakuzu arc was peak cinema. Every fight in that arc had me on the edge of my seat. That zombie duo was not to be messed with. Now, because I am on vacation knocking back 12 pina coladas a day, I was not able to finish the Sakura vs. Chio vid on time, but I decided instead of leaving you with nothing, I might as well break down the arc in one video. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy this compilation of peak combat. And go ahead and hit that like and subscribe for me, man. We trying to hit 150 before the year end, so you already know what to do. For the crew on the loo, not the two, Scooby-Doo. Okay, so boom! A scene kicks off with Hidan sitting on some steps waiting for Kakuzu to come back with their cash. The two of them are fresh off of packing up this Vin Diesel looking monk who had a bounty on his head. I know that bounty was fat too. People sure would pay a lot of money to get a glimpse of their future in that crystal ball, cue ball, shiny head of his. Head so bald you just wanna hit him with that Michael Jordan. As Hidan continues to wait patiently on the stairs, he hears the footsteps of someone behind him. So naturally, he assumes that the footsteps are Kakuzu's. But once he fully rotates to see who it is, we see the man of the hour, Asuma, posed up behind him. And he's not here to play no games either. My man Asuma is ready to get to work immediately. He quickly throws 3 shurikens, but Hidan manages to block them with his sight just in time. He then tries to throw his sight at Asuma, but before it could reach him, my boy Shikamaru pulls up and hits him with that infamous shadow possession jutsu. Hidan, now confused as to why he can't move, tries to get a glimpse of what's keeping him in place. But Asuma's squad was trying to get that KO in record time. So Izumo and Kotetsu charge in and pierce Hidan with these long blades from both directions. Now after seeing Hidan get turned into a meat kebab, Asuma and Shikamaru are already ready to celebrate. This man Shikamaru over here grinning, probably happy as hell his lazy ass gets to clock out early. And Asuma's over here talking about something. That's one of them down. Nigga, let the body drop first? Like damn, I can't stand when a kill gets claimed too early. Niggas will shoot their opponent once talking about some, we got him. Oh, nah, if you don't go ahead and empty that clip. After piercing Hidan with 2 blades, all 4 members of Asuma's squad stand there waiting for him to drop. But after letting Kotetsu sniff his musty armpits for a few more seconds, this man Hidan in the most casual, nonchalant voice says,
"Ow, that hurts. Who are you people? Quit sticking it in like that."
First of all, pause. Second of all, how is this man still alive? But he got 2 thick-ass swords poking out his chest and back, and he's over here speaking perfectly without even a little stutter. Yeah, go ahead and pack up, y'all. This one's not even worth it. Now they're just standing there, face to face, chopping it up, until Hidan notices the symbol around Asuma's waist. Hidan then puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Asuma is also a part of the same Guardian Ninja collective that Vin Diesel was under. So now, like the money-hungry demon he is, he plans on collecting the bounty that's on Asuma's head too. Asuma then proceeds to go on a yapathon, basically sharing the whole plan, talking about some
We are Shinobi of the Leaf Village. Our orders are to capture or eliminate you, Akatsuki. My original idea was to take down one of you first, then capture.
Shut up, nigga.
My brother, why are you spilling the beans to this man? What do you gain from this? You are literally giving his partner more time to come and join the fight. And funny enough, guess what happens next? Kakuzu comes flying out of nowhere with his fist cocked back, ready to punch the ponytail out of Shikamaru's head. Shikamaru manages to evade the attack, but this move of evasion also released Hidan from his grasp. Kakuzu continues to chase Shikamaru, but Asuma quickly jumps in front of Kakuzu while the other 2 retreat from Hidan. Now they're all back to back, ready to plot their next move. Now you think with Kakuzu in the mix now, Hidan would work with them to wrap up this fight quickly and go cash in the check, but that was not the case. Instead, Hidan's talking about some
Kakuzu, just stay out of this, alright? I want these 3 for my ritual. You can have them after.
I beg your pardon? The f you mean you can have them after? Shikamaru, you gonna let him talk to you like this? He just said he's trying to pass y'all around like an industry bot. You can have them after. Nigga, I'm not Ruby Rose. Kakuzu ultimately backs down, allowing Hidan to take the 1v4. But that is when we see this nigga Hidan drawing this devilish looking symbol with his own blood on the ground. Now I admit I was too distracted by the second half of Hidan's monologue, but if we take it back a little bit, we can hear this demon say,
I want these 3 for my ritual.
You what?
What? What ritual is homeboy talking about? This plus that blood symbol you drew on the ground was already enough to qualify you for a prayer and a complimentary exorcism. But if you don't want to take my word for it, take Shikamaru's. After watching him draw that symbol with the blood on the ground, Shikamaru quickly bowed his head and started saying a prayer. I'm not lying. If you don't believe me, go check it out for yourself. This is him speaking right now. After praying and strategizing for a bit longer, Hidan finally cuts them off and pulls the two swords out of his body. Then, to my surprise, he says,
The gods shall punish those who don't understand the pain of others.
Bro, which god are you talking about? See, you gotta be careful with people like this. I had a friend pray that his enemy's house blows up into pieces. Come to find out, his op lives with his innocent granny and her 3 puppies. I don't think God's gonna fulfill that prayer. After staring at each other for a bit longer, Asuma makes the first move and charges at Hidan. So Hidan rushes towards him too. They both collide, but Asuma manages to cut Hidan's blade in half with his. Before Hidan could even realize his blade's been cut, Shikamaru guns at him with his shadow stitches, so Hidan quickly jumps out the way. While in the air, he throws his broken blade at Asuma, which he blocks with ease. Then he sends his scythe at his head, but Asuma weaved that move with 0 difficulty. Hidan then digs the scythe into the ground and uses it to drag him away from Shikamaru's shadow stitches. So Asuma proceeds to charge at him again, but this time Hidan tries to catch him off guard by jumping in the air to get him from above. But Asuma was able to adjust and block the blow just in time. Shikamaru continues to try and catch him with his shadow stitches, but Hidan's just too fast. Eventually, Hidan gets tired of playing this cat and mouse game, so he throws his scythe at Shikamaru. But Asuma steps in front and proceeds to hit this holy whoa real quick, and now the ghost of Vin Diesel is right beside him. All of a sudden, this angelic music starts to play, and this golden 20-handed goddess appears behind him. Now, the first time I seen this, I genuinely thought Hidan was cooked. Look at this heavenly looking jutsu. You cannot tell me he's not about to punch the soul out of his chest with all 20 arms. But instead, all this man does is stiff arm the scythe and tickle this man's titty. Bro, don't piss me off. This clickbait ass jutsu. You couldn't even make Hidan touch the ground? Then to make things worse, he has the audacity to hit us with his little smirk like he did something. Asuma, quit playing and lock the in. Asuma then throws 3 shurikens at him, so Hidan jumps out the way. Now, as sorry as these shuriken throws might have seemed, that was all according to plan, because as soon as he jumped, Shikamaru quickly sent his shadow stitches at him, but they missed him by just a hair. Hidan then tries to slice Asuma in half, but Asuma manages to hit the most elegant backflip over the blades. Hidan continues to run from the stitches, but finally Asuma, Izumo, and Kotetsu got this man cornered. So at the same time, they all throw a bunch of shurikens at him. Now, during the last 5 minutes of this fight, Hidan must have forgot he was immortal, because instead of dodging the shurikens like he's been doing, he lets all the shurikens pierce his body, then continues to charge at Shikamaru. Asuma's not letting him get a hand on his shogi partner, so he decides to chase down Hidan. So he turns around and throws a kunai at Asuma, which he blocks, but then Hidan hits that same backflip Gervonta Davis does after every knockout, just up there levitating, stunning on his opponent. Then he throws his scythe at Asuma. He blocks the scythe, but not before getting pierced by the tip of one of his blades. Now, normally a little scratch like this wouldn't be a cause for concern, but judging by the look on Asuma's face, I can tell that something is very wrong. Hidan begins to retract his scythe. Then he starts sticking that tongue out, trying to show us what that mouth did. Asuma, thinking he has Hidan right where he wants him, decides to boot up his burning ass jutsu. And now the air is filled with ash from his nasty ass cigarette-filled tar black lungs. Lungs probably out here looking the same color as Hidan's soul. As the air continues to fill with ash, Hidan licks the tip of the blade, walks into the blood circle he drew at the beginning of the fight, and then we see his skin color change. Asuma's ready to wrap this up, so he bites down on the ash and causes a huge explosion, sending Hidan back to the depths of hell that he came from. Amen, won't he do it? Hallelujah. Or at least that's what I wanted to happen. Because after all the smoke from the explosion fades, we see this demon crouched down in his blood circle, talking about some
Hurts, doesn't it?
and that is when we see Asuma covered in burns as if he was the one in the explosion. Everyone's staring at the two of them, confused as to what they just witnessed. But before they could even make a hypothesis, Hidan screams out, Let's experience this ultimate pain together, shall we? Then he whips out this giant rod. Asuma assumes that he whipped out the rod to use on him, so he takes out a weapon of his own and sprints towards Hidan. But unfortunately, he misread the situation, because that rod wasn't for him, it was for Hidan. Hidan then proceeds to stab his own leg without flinching, and at the same moment of contact, Asuma's legs give out, then he proceeds to kiss the ground. Now Hidan's really having fun. This psychopath is over there yelling at Asuma's body, talking about some
Hurts, huh?
while laughing hysterically. Bro, listen to this man's laugh. If you ever hear someone laugh like this, please proceed with caution, cause I promise you, they got a couple screws loose. Now Izumo, Kotetsu, and Shikamaru are watching Asuma's leg bleed out while trying to figure out how he's doing this. Eventually, all four of them are able to figure out that Asuma and Hidan's body are somehow linked. Hidan points the rod right at his chest, then attempts to drive it through his heart. By the look on Asuma's face, you could tell his life was flashing before his eyes. He was completely helpless. But right before Hidan could pierce his chest, Shikamaru manages to get off his Shadow Strangle Jutsu in time, stopping Hidan from completing the devastating blow. Ooh, y'all had me sweating like I was there. Look at these niggas sweating buckets, stressed as hell. I know their hearts are beating at 150 beats per minute. Shikamaru's now over there using every atom in his body to keep his hold on Hidan. And now they're just in a stalemate. Nobody seems to be able to come up with any ideas. That is until Kakuzu provides them with a little motivation by offering Hidan his help. When I seen this man step up to bat, I began pleading on their behalf like my life was on the line. If they're already getting cooked in a 1v4, imagine if it's a 2v4. They'd be finished. And I'm not even hating, they know it too. Look at their reaction when he attempted to join the fight. They do not want smoke. Thankfully, Hidan's overconfident self tells him to back his ugly ass up and let him handle it. Shikamaru then really starts to get in his bag and brainstorm a bit more, and after closely analyzing all of Hidan's previous moves, he finally knows how to stop him. He quickly puts his plan into action and begins to shuffle Hidan's feet out of the circle. After a bit of a struggle, he finally manages to get him out. So Asuma wastes no time testing if he's still linked to Hidan by slicing his ear open with a shuriken. And once Asuma felt that he wasn't affected by the slice, Shikamaru uses his shadow stitches to restrain him. Asuma then gets up and begins to hobble his broken self over to Hidan. Nigga was taking forever, but he hit the Terry Fox jog all the way to him. But as much as I applaud Asuma for his determination, I couldn't help but get upset at the fact that these bums are just standing there watching him slowly walk to him. Nigga, if you don't run over there and end him, what have y'all done all fight except throw some shurikens? Uniforms in pristine condition, not a single speck of dust on it. I even tried to put some respect on y'all names by actually using your names to begin with. But let's be real, there's not one person on earth who would respond to the question, who's your favorite Naruto character? With an answer of, yeah, mine is Izumo, he's rad. And that guy Kotetsu, they're just both pretty cool. The way they just, nigga, no. After taking 40 years to get to Hidan, Asuma wastes no more time and slices his head clean off. And that is when everyone begins to let their guard down. As to why they feel so comfortable with Kakuzu eyeing them down from the sidelines is beyond me, but a win is a win, I guess. I would have been slightly more amped for this small victory if it weren't for Tweedledee over here talking about some, we did it, we did it, we did it. We. You know what? You're not even worth the roast. The joy from the small win eventually fades and they collectively refocus their attention on their next target. But the little momentum and confidence they had left was quickly destroyed when Kakuzu said,
if you wanted my help, Hidan, you should have asked sooner.
Then we see this man Hidan, fully conscious, yelling loud as hell as if his head isn't completely severed from his body. Now, the two of them are just casually having a conversation while the others watch. Hidan's basically begging Kakuzu to reconnect his head to his body, and eventually Kakuzu gives in. He practically teleports over to Hidan, then grips the top of his head like he's about to roll the nastiest strike I've ever seen. But as shocked as they all are, they still think they have the upper hand. Shikamaru determines that as long as Hidan's body is still separated from his head, they should be good. Now they're all plotting on a way to escape, considering the fact that Asuma looks like he just got out of a car crash, and Shikamaru can barely stand. Look at him, coughing up a storm. That secondhand smoke from all them shogi games with Asuma is finally kicking in. All four of them continue to strategize until Kakuzu's finally had enough. Mid-brainstorm, he teleports to Asuma and hits him with the same lethal leg kick they hit Jaden Smith with in Karate Kid. Then he decks the cigarette fumes out of his skull with that deal or no deal ass briefcase. Asuma is clearly unable to defend himself at this point, so you'd think he'd leave him alone after those first two hits. But Kakuzu does not play with his food. 35 mil is on the line, so he's not messing around. He jumps 10 feet in the air, then proceeds to drop his knee into Asuma's spine. And now Asuma's just laid out on the ground with 12 crushed vertebrae and a leaking leg. You'd think this would be the time for the two no-names to jump in and help, but nope. They just watch this man Asuma get abused. Kakuzu then walks walks over to Hidan's body, stitches his head on, then returns his attention to Shikamaru and the no-names. I promise you, if Shikamaru was in any condition to fight, they would have let that nigga handle it. But both of the all-stars are out for the count, so they have no choice but to let the bench players in. Kotetsu kicks off their showdown by summoning this ugly-ass weapon, then they both begin to charge at Kakuzu. Izumo quickly activates his water-style syrup trap jutsu, so Kakuzu jumps out the way to evade it. Kotetsu tries to catch him off guard and throws his Pokemon-looking weapon at him, so Kakuzu tries to catch it, but it weaves all of his attempts and crashes into the ground. The two simpletons really thought they got him with that elementary combo, but when the dust cleared, I was not surprised at all to see Kakuzu standing there staring at them unharmed. Kakuzu then raises his hand to deliver the final blow, but all of a sudden, Kotetsu's knockoff Pokemon comes flying out the ground behind him. He jumps to catch it, ready to smash him for real this time, so Kakuzu tries to jump out the way, but to his surprise, his feet are trapped by Uzumo's syrup. Okay, no names, I was not familiar with your game. This how you cook right here. I'm still not letting y'all slide though. Niggas wanna wait until the last minute to show out while Asuma's already in the waiting room to meet Jesus? Nah, f outta here. Kotetsu goes in for the final blow, but Kakuzu somehow unstitches his hands and launches them at his neck. Izumo tries to fight off the second hand, slicing and dicing his way through Kakuzu's symbiote, but inevitably, the hand catches him, and now they're both getting their oxygen squeezed out of them. Now that there's no one left to intervene, Hidan walks over to Asuma, ready to blow his candle out. He raises his rod and proceeds to utter his corny villain one-liner, but right before he could throw the rod, Asuma wakes up like the Undertaker and tries to slice Hidan's face off. Within a split second, Hidan manages to throw the rod, but the rod only goes through his shoulder, which wasn't enough to finish him. So he whips out his scythe and swings it right to the back of Asuma's head. Shikamaru yells at Asuma to watch out for the scythe, but then we hear the sound of a blade piercing skin while blood splashes in the air. Now my original guess was that Asuma was finished. That scythe clearly took his head clean off like he did to Hidan. A head for a head, a 69 if you will, but thankfully I was wrong. The camera pans down to Asuma and he still got his head on tight. It turns out he ducked right on time, and now the scythe is inches deep into Hidan's stomach. Asuma for a brief moment is very proud of himself for dodging that blow, until mid-sentence he realizes what just happened. Hidan then starts laughing hysterically, and that is when we see that this nigga is standing in the demon circle. I wanted to be mad at Asuma so bad, but this was honestly just a well thought out attack. Nigga had him beat from every angle. It was either this or the scythe carving out his head like a pumpkin, but he really had him in checkmate. Asuma, now in severe pain, grabs his stomach and starts coughing up blood, and that's when Shikamaru gathers the little strength he has left, gets up and starts running towards Asuma. That boy was running with Division 1 track type form, arms swinging hard as hell, but the run ends prematurely when this man falls by tripping over a rock. Kishimoto, I know you didn't just let a rock take this nigga down while his sensei is about to get packed up. This tiny ass rock, that should have caused a stumble at best, but a whole faceplant? Shikamaru, you were carrying the whole first half of this fight, but you're low-key sorry for this. Now Hidan's just playing with Asuma, making him feel pain for his own pleasure. He's even jiggling the blade inside his stomach, just straight foul. He finally gets done toying with Asuma, so he raises his rod, and with no one left to intervene, he successfully drives the rod through his heart, and this is when we see our beloved Asuma collapse to the ground. Now, as much as I wish this wasn't the actual final blow, all of the signs were there. The classic triple instant replay, the birds flying away, and finally, a loved one getting a sense that something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but when someone special leaves this earth, niggas just somehow manage to know right when it happens. Her coochie must have started tingling or something, cause she immediately looks up and calls out Asuma's name. But what made it even worse was the fact that his death was used to pleasure this sadistic, kinky psychopath. Watching your sensei's death be used as some form of a drug has to be a different type of trauma. But shit, with a sorry squad like this and 35 mil on his head, this was your only fate. Even Doctor Strange couldn't find another reality where this wasn't the outcome, brother. You were cooked from the jump. And the worst part is Asuma couldn't even get off his dying wish, which was, and I quote, to like and subscribe to your boy. Come on now, respect the man's dying wish. Reinforcements eventually come, but it was too little too late. They They tried to rush him to the Leaf Hospital, but Kakuzu refused to leave without collecting his bounty. But he was not leaving without that 35 mil. He was still throwing hands. But fortunately enough, everyone was spared from his wrath because the two of them were being summoned by their boss, forcing them to retreat for good, thus putting an end to this devastating battle. Overall, a capital S tier fight. The hand-to-hand combat, the strategizing, the banter. Ooh! Asuma and Shikamaru really gave it their all. The no-names tried to redeem themselves with that last-ditch effort to contribute. And as much as I despise Hidan and Kakuzu, I must admit that they're a duo that's not to be played. Boom! The scene kicks off with Kakashi, Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru tracking down Team 10's biggest op, Kakuzu and Hidan. As you can see, we got a much better squad on the scene this time. Much better might be a stretch, but it's an upgrade for sure. I don't know what kind of perk 50 Tsunade was on while making that C-tier 4-man squad, but she basically set them up for failure. If I was Shikamaru after that gruesome showdown, as soon as I touched back down in the league, I would have bum rushed Tsunade's office and knocked every blonde hair follicle out her head. But instead, like the wise man he is, he put all of his energy into getting his get back. As Kakuzu and Hidan continue to walk towards the leaf, Ino manages to use her mind transfer jutsu on a hawk to pinpoint their exact location. And just like that, they now have the drop on the zombie combo. So Shikamaru wastes no time putting that big brain of his to use. As Kakuzu and Hidan continue to walk, Shikamaru tries to discreetly extend his shadow stitches to trap both of them. Unfortunately for Shikamaru, they immediately feel his presence and jump out the way. But as soon as they land, two paper bombs come raining down on them. Hidan blocks one with his scythe while Kakuzu blocks the other with his hardened arm. But before they could even retaliate, Shikamaru jumps in the air and throws two more paper bombs in their direction. So of course, they instinctually dodge it. But to both of their surprise, the paper bombs didn't detonate at all. And that is when they realize they've been got. Yes sir, let's go. See, that's too easy. Now as happy as I was watching this, I was still in no mood to celebrate. All I desperately wanted was for Shikamaru to finish the job with a quickness. But this nigga must have not learned from the last time, because homeboy hit the same cocky smirk he did when he thought he had Hidan the first time. He then jumps down and starts explaining to them how he was able to trap them by using his chakra blades and aiming it at their shadow so that it could absorb their chakra and yada yada yada. Now this is cool and all, but Shikamaru, respectfully, shut the fuck up. We not trying to hear that, bro. You should be rearranging this man's face right about now. No long talking, just straight mink mink mink. This man had Asuma unconscious with his booty tooted up in the air. There should be no smiling. You're not mad enough for me right now. After explaining his whole game plan, Shikamaru removes the chakra blades, then proceeds to hit Hidan with his shadow possession jutsu. He forces Hidan to walk to his scythe and pick it up. Then out of nowhere, Shikamaru starts running, forcing Hidan to charge at Kakuzu with his scythe. But hold up, how he go from shaking like he got Parkinson's to full on running at top speed? Every time he gets one of them in a shadow possession jutsu, it looks like he's struggling to even make them move an inch. But now he's sprinting like he's Noah Lyles? That doesn't make sense, but you know what? I'ma let it slide. After grabbing his scythe and running towards Kakuzu, Hidan finally jumps up and gets ready to take off his head. But right as Hidan swings his scythe, Kakuzu manages to duck out the way. Oh my lord, these niggas got a counter for everything! It turns out, Kakuzu's arm is able to move independently from his body. This man hid his hand underground during the explosion, then used it to remove the chakra blade that had him stuck. Now we're stuck watching this man reconnect his nasty ass arm. Cameraman had this symbiote twerking in my face for a good 10 seconds. We did not need to see this. Shikamaru also must have been traumatized by that sight, because he wasted no time and quickly rushed at Kakuzu while rapidly swinging his scythe. Kakuzu continues to dodge the blows, but his back eventually gets pinned to a tree. And that is when Captain Obesity comes crashing down on Kakuzu's head with his spiky human boulder. Choji then comes sliding out of the dust, and now they're waiting for all the debris to clear. But to absolutely nobody's surprise, that shit didn't even make a scratch. Of all the people on this squad, you must have been out of your mind if you thought it was gonna be Choji to make the first death. Absolutely not. Now Kakuzu's explaining to them that his special ability is being able to harden his body when needed. So to put it short and sweet, physical attacks are essentially useless on him. But mid-explanation, Kakashi pulls up out of nowhere and puts a Chidori in his back. You see, this is what I'm talking about. People often underestimate the element of surprise. Stop letting these niggas get full-on TED Talks in, especially when you're working with a time-sensitive jutsu such as Shikamaru. Kakashi can see that Shikamaru's grasp on Hidan is slowly slipping away, so he knows he has to act fast. Kakuzu, with Kakashi's arm still in his chest meat, continues to grunt and moan for a bit longer until finally he drops to his knees and collapses on the ground. As big of a victory as this was, there's still no time to celebrate. Kakashi knows knows Hidan's also not one to mess with, so he quickly boots up his Chidori and runs towards him. But right before he could call game, this green-eyed zombie freak kicks Kakashi in his ribcage, sending him crashing into a tree. Like, how? They can't keep getting away with this. They just won't die. Kakashi just Chidori'd this man through the heart. Even had that man groaning and moaning, and you're telling me he's still alive. And to make things even worse, this man rips off his robe and reveals this ungodly build. And now the demons are trying to claw their way out of his body. Bro, look at their faces. They're traumatized. Got my man Choji in the back reconsidering his life choices. I feel him though. A sight like this would have had me passing around my resume to every shop and restaurant in the league. This shinobi lifestyle is not for me. The demons finally break free from Kakuzu's back, and now we see 4 giant black blobs posted up behind him. What the f even are these? Nigga, is that Babadook? Are those Shinigamis? What am I looking at? Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu finally wears off, and just like that, the zombie duo now has the advantage. But to everyone's surprise, before they could even start throwing hands, the demon with the mask that Kakashi broke suddenly collapses. So now Kakashi knows how to take them down. Just as Kakashi begins to formulate a plan on how to beat this man, Hidan comes charging in at full force, swinging his scythe at him in every which way. Kakashi manages to block and evade all of his attempts to draw some blood, but that's when this Babadook comes flying in out of nowhere, then hits both Hidan and Kakashi with a wind-style pressure damage jutsu. That jutsu was so strong that it causes this huge tornado-like wind, destroying all the trees around it. But that was just the beginning. Kakuzu then uses another one of his Babadooks to boot up this nasty lightning blast, which he sends right at Shikamaru and Choji. Shikamaru tries to stop the blow, but he was just too slow. Nigga whipped out a scroll talking about something. Oh no, too late. Brother, what was your plan here? Cause you were definitely watching him charge up that attack for a hot minute. You even whipped out the scroll in anticipation of the attack. So how are you too late? But you know what? I guess quick reflexes isn't really his strong suit. Right before the lightning blast could turn them into bacon, Kakashi jumps in the way and saves them from the devastating blow. I don't even gotta gas him up for real. This just what he do. It's another day in the office for real. Kakashi really the least MVP, but y'all not ready to have that conversation. My man just jumped in front of 200,000 gigawatts of lightning just to save these ninjas who aren't even his students. That's a stand-up guy right there. But you can low-key tell that he's getting a little pissed off from carrying the team now, cause Ino's ditzy self finally comes out of her hiding spot just to ask him if he's alright. So Kakashi says in the most annoyed way ever, well, I'm still standing. Now to a normal person, that answer might have not raised any red flags, but I have a keen ear for passive-aggressive undertone and sarcasm, so let me provide you with the translation. Are you alright? No, I'm not alright. You see me fighting for my life against these heathens and you over here still hiding in the trees. Pitch in. Now after a few more seconds of staring each other down, Kakuzu finally breaks the silence and says,
You saw through the jutsu with your Sharingan.
But what about this next one? Then one of his Babadooks steps forward, opens his mouth, and begins to hit them with the most intense fire style jutsu I've ever seen. That jutsu was so strong they were too stunned to move. They eventually all managed to jump out the way and take cover, but Kakashi doesn't even get the chance to land because Hidan's already on his ass. Kakashi blocks his first swing, then the second. He dodges the third blow by jumping back, then weaves one of his kicks. Hidan tries to catch him off guard with another swing to the face, but Kakashi blocks both attempts, then jumps over the third. Now Hidan really got Kakashi on his heels. You can tell Kakashi's only priority is not to get hit with his blade. They finally separate, and that's when Hidan gives Kakashi a backhanded compliment talking about some
Boy, you really are good.
Yeah, he really is good, and you gonna learn today. The fuck did you think this was? You thought he was sorry? He not Asuma. Hey, okay, alright, that was my bad. I didn't mean to disrespect you. The heated exchange comes to an end, and now Kakashi and Team 10 are all huddled up, strategizing their next move. After taking into account everything that's happened so far, Shikamaru is able to conclude that Kakuzu has 5 hearts and each mask represents 1. And of course, this completely checks out, hence why the first Babadook died from the lightning blade. Kakuzu then reveals that all 5 hearts are from ninjas he's defeated, which also makes sense as to why the Babadooks have such a different yet strong chakra natures. But the conversation quickly takes a disrespectful turn when Hidan interrupts and says, You leaf ninja, bury your dead or what? Knowing Kakuzu, he'll totally want us to go digging up for that cash cow of his. Now that comment specifically was enough to get all of them fuming, but Hidan didn't stop there.
It was already a downer, though. Seriously, that guy with the beard went down like it was nothing, you know? You must have been his students then, huh? With a loser like that guy teaching you, you're pretty much screwed.
And that one right there really struck a chord, especially with Choji. That boy's face turned red red as a tomato. He was ready to crash out for sure, but they managed to hold him back. That was until Hidan said, "You're not all bent out of shape over that chump. Fatso." Hey, I can't lie, that was a good one right there. I might have to add that to the collection. Dude said bent out of shape. Get it? Cause he's morbidly obese, like he not in shape, he can't run. That comment was Choji's last straw because he breaks free from Shikamaru's grasp and charges at him. Look at that boy, smiling ear to ear, getting ready to taste some of his blood. That junk probably tastes like Skittles, cupcakes, and Doritos. He can't wait. But right before he could get a sample, Shikamaru uses his shadow possession jutsu to stop him dead in his tracks. So Hidan jumps up to chop him in half, but Kakashi meets him in the air and blocks him with his kunai. So Hidan quickly kicks Kakashi to the ground, and now he shifts his focus onto Kakashi again. Shikamaru then releases his hold on Choji and chews him out for being so careless, but my attention was very much elsewhere. Peep the sound he makes when he falls to the ground after being released.
Wait.
Brother, how are we supposed to take you seriously and you doing shit like this? You deserve every insult that's ever been thrown at you. I just want you to know that. After briefly getting chewed out by Shikamaru, he turns around only to be met with Kakuzu's meat right in his face. So he gets up and tries to hit Kakuzu with a fat punch, but Kakuzu catches it, flings it away, punches the food particles out his mouth, gives him one to the gut, and elbows him so hard that he goes flying into a tree. Now getting done up like this was bad, but it happens to the best of shinobi from time to time, so he could have lived that down. But this next part proved that Choji does not have that dog in him, nor a cat. He got an obese dwarf hamster in him at best. This man Kakuzu teleports in front of Choji, and once he looks up to see who's in front of him, this was his response. Are you not embarrassed? Have you no shame? Bro, look! He look like he about to piss his pants. This is beyond no aura. This man is in aura debt. He gotta file for aura bankruptcy after this. This was tragic. Shoot, almost made me stop the vid here. But you know I had to thug it out for y'all. And just for that, y'all already know what to do. Bro, you see the timestamp on this video. You know I was working double overtime in that kitchen. Run the like and hit that subscribe. Please and thank you. The cameraman then cuts back to Hidan still chasing down Kakashi, and boy is he making him sweat. Kakashi's still not even attempting to get some hits in, just straight blocks and dodges. 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flips. This is not the Olympics. Nigga wanna be Simone Biles so bad. He eventually takes one huge jump to put some distance between him and Hidan, but while up there he's instantly met with a giant fireball from this Shinigami. It spams 3 more fireballs, but just like vegetables attempting to enter Choji's mouth, they all miss their target. Kakashi jumps onto another branch to try and catch his breath, but the lightning Babadook pops up behind him and tries to laser off his cheeks. Kakashi of course evades that attack too, and now he's free falling through the air. Before he could even touch the ground, the wind style Babadook comes flying in out of nowhere and starts firing off these demon breath blasts. Now I know I've had a lot to say about Danzo's old nigga hot breath jutsu before, but my mind can't even fathom what those smell like. You see the power and spice on those blows? I know that smell like some stuff I've never smelled before. Kakashi's probably out there getting a nose full of eternal damnation and tortured souls. Oh nah. Fortunately enough, Kakashi used the falling debris around him to dodge the attacks. But out of nowhere, Hidan then comes flying in to try and dig his scythe into his head, so Kakashi quickly jumped out the way. Now all the Babadooks are just punishing this man, just violating him. I mean straight raw dog, tag team, gang bang this. But somehow, some way, our MVP miraculously makes it out of the jumping alive. We then cut back to Choji getting dragged out of this circular indent he made in the tree earlier. Just look at him, man. His limp body just lying there looking pathetic as hell. But hold up though, why is he low-key caked up? That man got yams for days. Okay, BBL Choji. Kakuzu then hardens his hand and gets ready to pierce it through all 37 inches of Choji's blubber. But before he could make the incision, Ino quickly throws a kunai at him to distract him, and as soon as he dodges it, Shikamaru uses his shadow possession jutsu to try and capture him. So Kakuzu turns around and starts moonwalking his way around his jutsu. The lightning Shinigami quickly rushes to Kakuzu's aid by trying to strike him with lightning, but Shikamaru surprises us all and hits this clean dance revolution routine to evade all the lightning strikes. That boy did not miss a beat. I didn't even know he had those in him. While Shikamaru's still distracted, Kakuzu extends his arm and grabs Ino and Choji by their neck, and now he's just slowly squeezing the life out of them, giving them that same no-name chokeout special. While they're over there struggling for air, Kakashi and Shikamaru are both just trying to stay out of the Babadook's grasp. That is until this fire style one hits Kakashi in his back, and now our goat is laid out on the branch. Hidan with his evil laugh slowly walks over to Kakashi, raises his scythe, then chops Kakashi in half. But of course, with such an easy opening, it did not surprise me at all when it turned out to be a shadow clone. Shikamaru, now activating his WIQ, decides to spin back for Ino and the plate cleaner. then proceeds to use this scroll to summon a bunch of water. Now I can't lie, I was confused watching this the first time, but then I remembered it's Shikamaru, so of course I had to let him cook. And boy did he cook up something delicious, because he ends up using Kakuzu's lightning Babadook against him. See, this is why I let Mr. Big Brain cook. I just know that tight ass ponytail is improving the blood flow to his brain. You see how he used the water to help electrocute him? Because the water conducts electricity by using Darwin's, Einstein's theory, both of their theories, with a neutron and electrons. But real talk though, to all my science majors, wouldn't this move end up electrocuting Ino and Choji as well, since the human body can conduct electricity? But shit, what do I know? The only thing I remember from science is whatever Bill Nye taught me. Shikamaru ends up throwing a paper bomb kunai at Kakuzu, so Kakuzu ends up dropping the two bumps to save himself. And that is when Kakashi and Shikamaru rush in to save them. Now Kakashi and Shikamaru are mapping out what they should do next, and they eventually come to the conclusion that they need to split them up. Ino volunteers to take on the task of luring Hidan away from Kakuzu, but they may as well have just burst out laughing in her face, because Shikamaru wasted no time shutting that weak ass idea down. You know good and well you couldn't handle that. Don't make me tally up everything you've done this fight, cause your Tony Snell ass stat line is not looking pretty. Out here averaging 4 screams and 3 gasps every fight. Please go sit down. Besides, Shikamaru ain't no wuss. This one's personal, so he knows he has to be the one to finish him off. Before he heads out to take care of business, Kakashi hands him something which he quickly puts in his pocket. And if you're like me, I know your nosy self was zooming into every pixel to see what was in his hand. But in the words of the legend himself,
that's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Shikamaru slowly walks towards them, then proceeds to blitz Hidan with his shadow possession jutsu, but Hidan quickly jumps out the way. Kakashi soon joins in on the action by jumping in front of Kakuzu and attempting to slice him open several times. And after all these missed swings, Kakuzu blocks Kakashi's blow, forcing him to drop the kunai. And now the two of them are really throwing hands. This that S tier hand-to-hand combat right here. Kakashi never disappoints. Even Hidan couldn't stop watching. That is until Shikamaru tries to rush him with his shadows again. Kakashi and Hidan are still down there going blow for blow in the water. Chancla's drenched as hell. But if the wet feet wasn't annoying enough, Kakuzu finally gets him with the leg sweep, but he misses with the right foot head stomp. Kakuzu tries to leg sweep him again, but Kakashi's not falling for that twice, so he jumps in the air. But Kakuzu extends his symbiotic arm, grabs his ankle, smashes him into the ground twice, then throws him into a tree. He then rushes right towards him, and now Kakashi's fighting this man while walking backwards up a tree. Kakuzu definitely had the upper hand. That is until Kakashi weaves this punch, then kicks him to the opposite side. Look at him, had that boy lost. Nothing is over there. Kakuzu tries to recover by hitting him with a backhand, but Kakashi weaves it, then kicks him off the tree. He teleports to him and tap dances on his pelvis for a second, then he grabs him and hits him with a spinning brainbuster into the ground. But sadly, it was just a water clone. We then cut back to Hidan, and this man Shikamaru still got him running from his jutsu, until he whips a chakra blade at him with one of his shadow stitches, forcing him to jump. But little did Hidan know, he had a second one to throw. So while he's in the air still, he whips the other chakra blade at Hidan's shadow, and from the looks of it, that man is cooked. There is no way he can recover from this. What is he gonna do? Jump in midair? We finally got his ass. This man really dug his psyche into the tree, then used it as a platform. I can't even get that mad, this was low-key cold. But right as I began to lose hope, this man Shikamaru comes running up the tree ready to punch the teeth out of his mouth. Yeah, that's what the f I'm talking about. Who said my boy just a camper? He really Mayweather with this jump. The punch does get blocked, but it doesn't matter because the shadow possession jutsu is now complete. So Shikamaru wastes no time and sprints towards the forest. He eventually stops and starts throwing a bunch of kunais with paper bombs and strings attached to them. But not too long after that, we see Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu wear off. So like the fiend he is, Hidan manically sprints over to Shikamaru with his rod withdrawn and slices his cheek open. He then licks the tip and begins his transformation. Now this was about the time I was expecting Shikamaru's plan to kick in. But then we get this shot of his face and my stomach immediately sank. Why does he look this worried? Is he cooked for real? Hidan stabs his hand, begins to draw his blood circle on the ground, and now his preparations are complete. He raises his rod in the air the same way he did to finish Asuma off, then shoves that junk through his stomach. And that is when Shikamaru starts moaning and groaning. I almost shed a tear. Sounded just like Asuma. My impatient ass couldn't wait any longer. Let me know what the plan is before I tweak out. But no, my wish was not granted, and this man falls to the ground. Hidan starts to let his guard down and begins to turn around to walk back to Kakuzu. But before he could even fully take a step, Shikamaru Shikamaru gets up and slices his neck meat open. He realizes he didn't cut deep enough though, so he quickly restrains him with his Shadow Strangle Jutsu. And this is when he explains his whole plan from start to finish. To put it into as little words as possible, Shikamaru fed Hidan Kakuzu's blood instead of his. Hence why Kakuzu was clutching his chest like me after a Harvey's bacon cheeseburger combo with extra bacon instead of Shikamaru. It turns out the object that Kakashi passed him earlier was a blood sample from Kakuzu that Kakashi managed to get earlier when he stabbed Kakuzu with his lightning blade. And to complete the last stage of their plan, Shikamaru put the blood on Hidan's blade and the rest was history. Now, as impressive as this was, in the words of Kobe Bean Bryant, job not finished. I'm not giving him no props until that man is dead. And from the looks of it, it seems like Hidan won't be put to rest just yet, because he somehow manages to resist Shikamaru's Shadow Strangle Jutsu, then starts chatting his ear off about Lord Jashin while raising that rod to put it right through his back. But before he could finish sucking the skin off of Lord Jashin's Johnson, Shikamaru sticks out his hand like PG hitting that half-court 3, then hits him with this Miles Morales, nah, I'ma do my own thing ass ball. He talking about some
Thanks anyway, but I can save myself.
He then hits Hidan with the Shadow Pull Jutsu, and now he's wrapped in all these paper bombs. After making sure the cameraman secured the IG flick, he throws his sword at this marking in the ground, and soon the ground begins to crumble below Hidan. He continues to put on this tough guy act, but his ego is quickly shattered when Shikamaru tells him that only members of his clan are allowed in here. So honestly, it doesn't matter if he's eternal. Once you step foot in this forest, they could watch you for eternity. Shikamaru finally attempts to complete the last stage of his plan, but he's unable to get Asuma's lighter to work. That is until the ghost of Asuma taps Shikamaru on his shoulder and says, let's smoke on that Hidan x Lord Jashin pack together. And finally the lighter lights. So Shikamaru slowly walks over to Hidan and hits us with another pair of beautiful bars before tossing that lighter at his forehead.
It's the will of fire. The will to protect our village.
What He didn't even take a step back, just straight watch the explosion happen right in front of his eyes. It doesn't get any more gangster than that. After basking in the moment for a bit longer, he walks over to the deep hole and sees Hidan's dismembered body at the bottom. But of course, this annoying ass pest is still alive. He's still going on about Jashin this, Jashin that, but Shikamaru puts him in checkmate with this bar right here.
Right now, the god you should be worried about isn't your stupid Jashin or anyone else. It's me. Because I'm the one who's about to pass judgment.
Then he throws his paper bomb kunai into the hole, and as it explodes, all the rubble falls on top of him while he's still giving his Jashin speech. But the rubble finally settles, and our ears are met with a peaceful silence, thus marking the end of a legendary battle. Overall, a double S tier fight.
Hey, what about Hidan and Kakashi?
Boy, if you don't look, that man had 4 more hearts left. His fight would have been a whole nother 20 minutes. And who computer I'ma edit that on? Cause I'ma tell you right now, the one sitting in front of me does not have the capacity. I don't usually do part 2s, and I'd say I'm a pretty generous guy, but I'm not Oprah Winfrey generous. That Kakashi and Naruto vs Kakuzu fight will have to wait. Okay, so boom, the scene kicks off with Kakashi surrounded by Kakuzu's 3 Babadooks. He's over there plotting out his next move after going toe to toe with both Hidan and Kakuzu for what felt like a decade. While Kakashi's still frozen in between the 3 Babadooks, Kakuzu steps out and immediately starts talking that smack. He talking about some,
Was it wise for the kid to go alone today? That boy dies.
Oh really? Is that so? Cause the last time I checked, your boy was chopped up like some sirloin steak. After hyping up Hidan for a bit longer, he begins to try and strike some fear in Kakashi's heart by flexing his freaky symbiote arm. Then he starts talking about how their headbands remind him of when he faced off against the first Hokage, and that really had them shook. I'm still calling cap though, I don't care. He couldn't go toe to toe with my glorious king on his best day. Nigga thought he could pull a fast one. No, yeah, I was giving him that work. The cameras just weren't on though. Face ass. I'll believe it when I see the footage. Hidan finally decides he's ready to start boxing again, so he fuses the wind style and fire style Babadooks, then gets straight to work. He claps his hands together, then the lightning mask beams a ray of lightning at him. He quickly jumps out the way, but before he could even land, the wind and fire style Babadook boot up a nasty fire wind fusion blast. So to counter, Kakashi quickly reaches in his pouch, grabs a kunai with some string attached to it, whips it at the 3 of them, then pulls himself out of harm's way. They try to hit him with another blast, so Kakashi rushes for cover on the other side of the tree, but Hidan quickly quickly adjusts his plan of attack by using the wind style mask to blast a hole in between the trees. Kakashi tries to evade all the blasts, but once he reaches the top, he's quickly met with a hot fireball to his chest. He collapses to the ground, but thankfully it turned out to be a shadow clone. The two useless spectators let out a sigh of relief, and for a minute there, nobody knew where Kakashi was. That was until he dragged this mask into the ground, then popped up out the other side and started swinging on the double mask Babadook. It weaves and dodges all of his attacks, then opens its mouth to let out another blast. Kakashi manages to deflect the first one just in time, then boots up a water wall to block the second. He tries to block the next blow with another water wall, but the Babadook must have upped the intensity because it penetrated right through, forcing Kakashi to flee from the branch. While he's in the air anticipating another fiery blast, Kakuzu sneaks up behind him and extends his symbiotes to restrain him while also trying to dig out his heart. The two bums, while still in the same exact spot they were in the beginning of the fight, yell out in fear. But shockingly enough, the screams did not do a damn thing. Right before Kakuzu could yank out Kakashi's heart like he's Jeffrey Dahmer, Shikamaru just so happened to complete the most integral part of their plan, which was to trick Hidan to drink Kakuzu's blood. So now, Kakuzu's clutching his chest instead of Shikamaru, and eventually he slumps over and stops moving. Finally, Ino and Choji remember how to move their feet, so they rush towards Kakashi. Ino offers to treat him with her medical ninjutsu, talking about some slowly, make sure not to damage the vessels. But if you watch part 1 of this fight, you already know he's been tired of her ass. He's been giving her attitude the whole fight, but for good reason. She just out here watching this nigga fight for his life like this is all for her entertainment. Then she wanna slide through when she thinks it's safe and act like she really cares. Man, move! Kakashi, like the real nigga he is, turns down her offer and yanks the symbiotes out of his body. But this man Kakashi cannot catch a break, because not even a millisecond after pulling out the symbiotes, the other two Babadooks come rushing towards them. But God himself must be coming back to Earth, because instead of Kakashi stepping up to bat as usual, this man Choji jumps forward, activates his expansion jutsu, then open palm squishes him into the ground. Now this was a decent move, I cannot lie, but nothing to drool over. So imagine how confused I was when the camera cut to Ino talking about some nice work, way to go Choji. Are you Oh my days, this nigga is boo-boo. When such a simple combo garners this type of reaction, it is safe to say that very little is expected of you. Choji's like one of them kids that bring you a drawing and you gotta be overly hyped about it. Hey, look what I made. Oh my gosh, wow! That is amazing. We gotta put that on the fridge. No, we gotta get this a billboard. This is astonishing. When in reality, that is the ugliest piece of artwork I've ever seen in my life. Bro, look at this basic ass combo. And look how he's smirking after Ino gassed him up. This man is a disgrace. After basking in the glory for a bit longer, his light is quickly dimmed when this symbiote begins to wrap around his arm. He immediately shrinks down to his normal size, then Cha-Cha slides on out of there. But while Kakashi and Ino's attention was on Choji, the double mask Babadook pops up out of nowhere and boots up a fire blast. Kakashi and Ino manage to jump out the way, then the lightning Babadook hastily jumps into Kakuzu's body. And that is when we see this man Kakuzu and his bloodshot red eyes slowly stand up to stare them down. Both of them are now trying to figure out what they just witnessed. But before they could finish their calculations, the second Babadook rushes into Kakuzu, and now this nigga is hitting the filthiest Harlem Shake I've ever seen. Like, that nigga was really hitting that. Okay, Kakuzu, go ahead. The Harlem Shake eventually comes to a halt, and now he's standing there in full form, ready to take each of their hearts and add it to his collection. But you know Kakashi ain't going out like no punk, so he reaches into his pocket to grab his kunai, but in the blink of an eye, Kakuzu's symbiote pops up through the ground and restrains all three of them. Two Babadooks then emerge on each side of him, and they both proceed to boot up this lethal fire and wind style blast. Just when it looked like all hope was lost, we see two hands pop up out of nowhere to combine a Rasengan with a ripping torrent to create a Hurricane Fortress Jutsu. The fusion was so strong that it dissipated Kakuzu's attack like it was nothing. The smoke begins to take its sweet time to clear, but after seeing that Rasengan, there is no question that a real one has stepped on the scene. Yes, sir, and he not dumb either. My boy brought backup too. We got one of Orochimaru's assault victims. We got Mr. Zesty Crop Top Man, and then we got Sakura. Kakashi, relieved that he doesn't have to carry this team anymore, lets out a huge sigh of relief. Then Ino calls out all of their names with a joyous tone. But y'all already know that my hater gene has been kicked into overdrive now that Sakura is on the scene. Peep how she hit this over-the-shoulder look back like she's cold. That will take it from here. Ask Nam. You are not like that. You've never been like that, and you'll never be like that. Cut it out. Kakashi then sends the two Auralist bumps to go help out Shikamaru, and that is when our boy Naruto steps up to bat to really test Kakuzu's gangster. Naruto proceeds to boot up two shadow clones, but he doesn't attack right away. Instead, he lets Kakashi give him the rundown of Kakuzu's abilities. But honestly, that explanation was a complete waste of Kakashi's breath because that nigga was gonna do the same move regardless. Naruto got some moves, but his bag is not that deep. After giving him that detailed explanation, this man Naruto takes a deep breath, then proceeds to whip up a Rasengan with max intensity. But this one was a little different. It had some kick to it, but he put some extra hot sauce in this one when he was cooking it up. Cause once the camera zoomed out, we see Naruto posted up with this nasty giant Rasen Shuriken. That is what I'm talking about. He's ready to clap that man into oblivion. Naruto then proceeds to charge in behind his lead blockers right towards Kakuzu with his Rasen Shuriken ready to wreak havoc. Now, as epic as this moment was, it was quickly ruined when Choji decided he wanted a piece of the action too. This double XL wide back man here decided to take it upon himself to charge in behind Naruto as if he could be of any assistance. When is this man gonna learn? You're not that guy. You had 30 minutes to make something shake, and you did not impress us one bit. Even Yamato had to humble him real quick. Peep how we stopped Choji dead in his tracks before he could do something stupid. No! Stay away from it. Do you wanna die? That is not a giant blue gumball dummy. You can't eat it. Sit down. Choji reluctantly listens to Yamato, so Naruto continues to charge at him with his clones. The shadow clones shuffle around to try and confuse this beast, then one of them jump in the air and whips out his kunai. He tries to put that junk right through his skull, but Kakuzu quickly pierces him with his symbiote. So another clone runs around his backside while the other one charges at his face. And now Naruto has him right where he wants him. But I knew this demon wouldn't go out that easy, because all of a sudden, both of his masks open up their mouth and blast the two shadow clones. They both immediately fade away like designers rap career. But then out of nowhere, the real Naruto charges in, cocks back his hand, and puts that Rasen Shuriken to his chest. Or so we thought, because once we get a closer look at the collision, we see that the Rasen Shuriken disappeared right before it could touch Kakuzu. Naruto, I know you fucking lying. I just finished hyping you up and you're gonna embarrass me like this? This is a Choji level blunder, tighten up! After staring at each other confused as to what just happened, Naruto jumps back to try and get away from Kakuzu, but he shoots some more symbiotes at his arm and quickly restrains him. Right before he could take his heart out, Yamato extends his wood to save. Whoa, okay. Yeah,
oh yeah, that boy gay.
Yamato attempts to strike Kakuzu with his wooden limb, but Kakuzu quickly ducks out the way. While he's distracted, Kakashi boots up his lightning blade and severs the symbiote. Then he grabs Naruto and brings him to safety. Now that Naruto's out of harm's way, Yamato ups the intensity and tries to poke him with his wood. Yeah, no, I'm done. Kakuzu manages to evade all of Yamato's advances, and now the Leaf Ninjas are back to the drawing board. Kakashi and the others think the best plan of attack is to work together to take him down, considering the fact that they do have the numbers. But Naruto, on the other hand, is begging them to let him face him alone. His reasoning was kinda convoluted. You know how he get with them talk no jutsus, but he just starts speaking Japanese. But whatever he said doesn't really matter, cause I seen right through the lies. All that he really wanted was bragging rights. He's on his J. Cole type time and trying to go triple platinum with no features, and you know what? I'm not mad at it. Just make sure you cook up something delicious and we're good to go. After getting the okay from the rest of the squad, Naruto tightens his headband and gears up to charge at him again. But Kakuzu refuses to be unprepared this time. So as if his other transformations weren't ugly enough, this creature hits another gear, and now he's over here looking like a giant demonic squid. Look! He looked like the girl who crawled out the TV in the ring. Oh nah! Fortunately for them, it seems like Naruto is unfazed, because with zero hesitation, he boots up his shadow clones and starts concocting another Rasen Shuriken. Once the preparations are complete, him and the shadow clones rush towards Kakuzu, but that man is done playing defense, so so he rushes towards Naruto too. He leaps in the air, then singles out the Naruto with the Rasen Shuriken, and while still in the air, he rushes Naruto with his symbiotes at max speed, creating a large cloud of dust. And once the debris clears, we see Naruto's lifeless body poked up with his tentacles. Kakuzu's cocky self assumes that the fight is now over, but after what felt like forever, the hole punch Naruto disappears, proving that it was a shadow clone. Before Kakuzu could even figure out where the real Naruto went, we hear a sound so sweet that I almost started drooling. Kakuzu looks to the side to see what it is, and to our eyes' pleasure, we see Naruto and two of his shadow clones gunning towards him from the air with a fat Rasen Shuriken in his hand. He finally gets close enough and puts that junk right in his back, and to let us know that it really connected this time, we get the classic double instant replay. That junk was so violent that it created this giant shock wave while also individually attacking every cell in his body. Listen to the scream this man let out. Sounds like DJ Khaled when he finds out the fridge is empty. Straight horror. The attack was strong enough to destroy all of Kakuzu's heart, sending his lifeless body crashing into the ground. The four of them are extremely impressed by what they just witnessed, so they turn around to give Naruto his props. But that boy is in no condition to celebrate. He over there laid out flat on his stomach, breathing hard as hell, talking about some
Sweet.
nigga, get up. You gotta make it look like it was easy, especially when you got a baddie on the scene. Hey, you know what? Do you? All I know is that could never be me. I'd have to hold my breath or something, no matter what type of pain I'm in.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. That was light work. You know, everyday type shit.
But either way, he got the W in the end, so it doesn't really matter. Overall, a very satisfying fight and a peak arc in general. Choji and Ino did what they do best and watched someone else come and save the day. Kakashi, of course, never disappoints. He gets an A for even keeping up with that heathen for so long in the first place. Yamato gets an honorable mention for coming in clutch to save Naruto. And of course, Naruto gets the MVP for showing up in the nick of time to pack up the last half of the zombie duo.
I don't really wanna know. Shorty telling me her name. I don't really wanna know. Had to wake up, go to work. I ain't really wanna go. God be with me on my side. He be with me on the low.